Assalamu alaikum. Getting married will not cure your porn and masturbation addiction. Now, upon hearing that, you might actually be slightly confused. You might be thinking, wait, if I've been releasing my sexual desires in the haram way via porn and masturbation, surely if I get married, that will just cure my habit of masturbating to porn. That would certainly just cure it because I replaced a haram thing for a halal thing. So usually I can just jump into marriage and then of course my habits will just go away and I'll be fine. That's not actually how it works. Because your brain is so used to getting stimulated off this haram kind of way. Let me actually go into full detail about this. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Amjad Moshe Wamala. I am here to help you quit your porn and masturbation addiction without you needing to constantly fight your sexual urges, but by actually using your sexual urges and Islamic principles to quit the habit of masturbating to porn forever and actually you to use those sexual urges and Islamic principles to ascend as a man. And quick trigger warning for this video. This is for a more mature audience. This is definitely not for kids. So if you're a child watching this, then click off this video right now. This is not for children. And let me actually get into it. First of all, you're used to getting stimulated. You're used to seeing these sexual images on a 2D screen as well. So when you actually see your wife, when you're used to seeing women in 2D, you're used to seeing women with these in these crazy positions, doing these crazy, weird, unnatural things, like these crazy things that are just acted, that are not even realistic, that are not even in reality. So when you see your actual wife, who just looks like a normal human being, unlike these porn models who are made up and designed to look more beautiful due to camera angles and so on and so forth, and surgeries and botox and whatever. When you see your actual wife, a real woman, your brain doesn't get turned on. Your brain doesn't get turned on, and neither will your private parts. Your private parts do not rise at the sight of your future wife, because she's a normal human being. Because she's a normal human being, unlike those things that you see on porn. Yeah, they're human beings, but again, they're full of makeup, they're overly beautified, they're made to look prettier via these weird dynamic camera angles. Even if it was from a real woman, let's say all these porn actors that you were watching were realistic. Let's say they look like your future wife, for example. Even then, your brain will still not get turned on because it's used to a 2D image. It's used to a 2D screen, not a 3D, not the 3D, not the reality, not an actual woman. Your brain is not used to the sensations and the feelings and actual sensing in a woman. Your brain can see a woman, but it's from a 2D screen. Your brain is used to a 2D screen. Your brain is not used to what your woman feels like, what she smells like, what she actually feels like. Your brain is not used to actually sensing her. It's used to a 2D image. So when your brain sees your wife in real life, it doesn't actually react. It doesn't actually get turned on. Your member doesn't actually get turned on. By member I mean penis, because trying to be appropriate here. It doesn't rise when you see a real woman, because you're used to a 2D screen. So when you go to be intimate with your future wife, you don't even get turned on. Now it does nothing for you. The other issue is false expectations. False expectation of what intimacy actually is. Because your first sight of intimacy was porn. The first thing you knew about sex was porn. Was porn and masturbation. So when you actually try to be intimate with your woman, your brain doesn't react the same because it's used to that intimacy. Furthermore, you're going to expect your wife to do all these crazy things that you saw these porn actors doing. You're going to think that what sex is in pornography is actually what sex is in real life, when it isn't. Porn is nothing like reality. It is just false. It is just acted. It is just there for adult entertainment. Yeah, entertainment. That's the level we've gotten to now. We've gotten to a point where we actually find it entertaining, where the human being, the species that is the human race, the humankind, the species that is human, we're not a race, we're a kind. We got to the point where people actually enjoy watching other people having sex. Astaghfirullah, look at how we've gotten, look at the level we've gotten. We find it entertaining to watch other people having sex. That's what it's gotten to. Like your brain is used to that. Your brain is used to adult quote unquote entertainment when it's not even reality. It's not even remotely real. Let me actually bring up this other side point. One of the people actually told me that yeah, you can actually learn something from watching porn. How? Because you can, because they're having sex in porn, so you can replicate the moves. So yeah, you can actually learn something from porn. This is so stupid. This is absolute. This is the most retarded thing ever. And some of you might actually think this. Some of you might actually might actually pose a question: can I watch porn to learn how to have sex? Is it permissible to watch porn to have sex? No. And even if it was, which definitely it isn't, you cannot learn a thing from porn. What you see on porn is nothing like reality. It's nothing like what actual sex is. That is literally like saying I can learn how to drive fast cars by watching The Fast and the Furious. That is literally like saying I can learn how to break out of jail by watching Prison Break. That is literally like saying I can learn how to have a fight. I can be good at MMA and fighting by watching Undisputed 2. That is like saying I can learn how to be good at gunfighting by watching things like Hellsing Ultimate and Black Lagoon and The Equilibrium. You see how retarded that sounds? You cannot learn a thing from porn. Porn is nothing like reality. But you actually expect because you're used to seeing that, because you know sex as what you see from porn. So your brain actually expects that from real sex, from real intimacy. Your brain thinks that your wife is gonna be able to do all these crazy moves as these actors do. Your wife is good. You're gonna think that you can just do all these crazy retarded things to your wife. This actually does blend into real life. For people who are used to watching porn and who have gotten married, they actually ask their future wives to perform crazy things. They actually expect and ask crazy things of their wives. And it's the same for women as well. Women also expect men to do weird and crazy and deranged things to them, because they're used to what they see in porn. That is another problem. That is what porn does to you. That is another reason why getting married to cure your porn addiction is just not a good solution whatsoever. The next reason is you're gonna have this nervous energy. You're gonna have this weird, uncomfortable, nervous energy that you've been having while you were watching porn, while you were masturbating to porn. You might actually not realize this, but every single time you masturbated to porn, you've been reacting in unnatural ways. You've been having weird, uncomfortable, and anxious-like behaviors. Think of like you actually have to observe yourself. When you actually observe how you are, how your body is, how you actually move when you go to watch porn and masturbate, you're tense, you're tight, you're in this nervous energy because you're trying to make sure nobody finds out. When you sneak into the bathroom or toilet, you try to make sure that nobody's there, that nobody's knocking on the door, and instead of actually focusing on being pleased and whatever, your focus on okay, I better make sure I'm not caught. I better make sure I don't moan loudly. You make sure to moan quietly. You're shallow breathing. You're making sure you don't moan loudly. You don't actually moan all the way. You don't actually moan properly. You're shallow breathing. You're trying so hard not to make a noise so that nobody finds out what you're doing behind closed doors, and you're used to doing that. You're used to ejaculating and releasing your urges in this weird, uncomfortable, unnatural way. So when you're with your wife, when you're with your woman, you're going to be uncomfortable and anxious and nervous. The intimacy will just be a miserable experience. Because what you feel in the intimacy, your wife will feel as well. So it's going to be a weird, uncomfortable and miserable experience for both of you. Next, the whole concept of the gorilla grip. This is where I'm going to get explicit. The gorilla grip. This is basically the way the tightness that you've been gripping on your private parts when you are masturbating to porn continuously. When you first masturbated to porn, the grip wasn't that tight. It was just a normal. It was a fairly firm grip, but it wasn't that firm. But because you're used to that stimulation of the head, excuse me, you want to grip it because you're used to that stimulation. You want to grip it tighter and tighter. That sensation doesn't do it for you anymore. So you grip your penis tighter and tighter and tighter. And the private parts in your future wife's vagina cannot replicate the tightness that you grip on your hand. So when you actually go to be intimate with your future wife, and you actually enter her, it doesn't actually feel that pleasurable because you're used to the gorilla grip. And your penis was not designed to be inside of your own hand. It was not designed to be stroked by your own hand. It was designed to go inside of your future wife or wives. But when you actually go to be intimate with your future wife as a result of this gorilla grip, you don't really feel anything. I've heard someone out there actually say that, oh yeah, you might actually feel this, but this is actually normal. No, it is not normal. It is not normal to not feel anything. It is not normal to feel next to no sensation when you enter a woman. The other problem is porn-induced erectile dysfunction. Because you're used to getting aroused by porn, you do not get aroused by real women. This is what we call a porn-induced erectile dysfunction. So when you actually go to have real sex, real intimacy, your private parts just don't even work. In fact, as a result of you watching so much porn and as a result of you stroking your penis with such force, your erection is just going to be weaker. You're just going to have weak, pathetic kind of erections because of because of it stimulating yourself in this weird unnatural way. And the funny thing is, it's not even funny. It's just kind of retarded. I've actually watched a full-on podcast about the experiences of men where when they get intimate with their future wife, they say, oh yeah, I don't get hard, and they said, those guys said, oh yeah, but it's normal. I actually realized that it's actually normal. It is not normal to when you go to be intimate with your wife. Trust me, it is not normal to not get hard. When you see a woman for the first time, you should be rock solid. You should be more solid than a rock. You should be stainless steel. Because you're seeing a beautiful woman for the first time. Because this is going to be your I'm here moment. This is going to be your chance to actually release your urges. This is going to be a chance to actually dominate a woman. This is actually going to be a chance for you to enjoy yourself with a woman. With a woman who you even like. So it is not normal to not be erect at the thought of that. It's not normal for you to be in that situation and not get hard. Yet we've got people saying, oh yeah, it is actually normal. If you don't get erect when you're intimate for the first time, oh yeah, that's normal. That stuff actually happens. It is not. Literally, imagine the cavemen. Can you imagine cavemen of back in the day? Not getting erect when they're first intimate with their cave women. Literally, look at all the people of the past, people who are not actually watching porn constantly. Do you honestly think that when they're intimate when they were intimate with their women for their first time, they would not get hard? That would be their I'm here moment. They would actually be proud. That would be an amazing moment for them because they're intimate for the first time. Just the thought of that would actually get them erect. Even better, they're in that situation. They would be rock solid. They would be stainless steel. Yet, because you're used to watching porn, you feel nothing when you're with your future wife. Next, the anxiety that it could actually cause. The anxiety as a result of watching so much porn, because you're gonna think that you have to do all these crazy things that these porn actors do. You're gonna think that you have to do all these weird and crazy things. You're gonna think that in order to please your wife, you have to do these crazy things that these male actors, I don't even call the porn stars, I don't even call them actors. I just call them prostitutes at this point. You're gonna think that what these male prostitutes do to these women prostitutes, you're gonna think that, oh yeah, that is just normal. That is how intimacy actually is. But your skills don't actually match that. I'm actually gonna get even more specific there. You're gonna be seeing these men's private parts, which are just unrealistic looking. Okay, they're unrealistic looking. They probably pumped it up before the shoot. They probably injected something into it before the shoot, and maybe yours doesn't actually look like theirs. So you're gonna be insecure about yourself, and that insecurity will actually cause you to have erectile dysfunction when you're actually intimate with your wife. You're gonna think, I can't actually do those skills. I can't actually do this. I can't actually do that. I'm not like them, so. You just get erectile dysfunction out of that anxiety, out of that insecurity. And even if you did somehow manage to try these moves on your future wife, she's going to be actually freaked out, to be honest. Your future wife is gonna be uncomfortable, thinking, "What kind of a man did I just marry? What is he trying to do to me? This is not unnatural. I've never heard of this before. This is not what sex actually is." And that's kind of what's gonna be in your wife's head, and making the intimacy experience miserable for her. And if it's miserable for her, it's gonna be miserable for you as well. That's how it is with intimacy. If you're having a miserable experience, then so is she. And if she's having a miserable experience, then so are you. The next problem is, let me pause. The next problem is pure premature ejaculation. In case you don't know what premature ejaculation is basically when you ejaculate way too quickly. This happens in multiple ways. You're used to watching so much porn. You're used to only stimulating yourself. So when you're going to be intimate with your wife, let's say you even get erect, because that is another issue. Erectile dysfunction. Let's say you even get to the point where you are erect. That's very less likely as a result of you watching too much porn. But let's just say you get to that point. You're going to be just focused on the ejaculation. Because when you are masturbating to porn, or when you're just masturbating generally, you are mainly just focused on the ejaculation. You're not really focused on the sexual experience. You're not really focused on pleasing yourself with your wife. You're not really focused on dominating your wife. Yeah, that is what you do in intimacy, by the way. You're not really focused on connecting with your future wife. You're not really focused on connecting with your wife. You're just focused on let me just ejaculate. Which actually makes you be intimate in a selfish kind of way. And that actually leads to your wife not even wanting to be intimate with you, because she's going to be thinking, he's just going to ejaculate quickly. He's just going to ejaculate in, what, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes? So what's the point in actually being intimate with him? So she's actually going to withdraw intimacy from you. Not really because she's a bad woman, but because she's going to be thinking, what's actually the point in intimacy? He's only going to ejaculate quickly, and I'm going to get nothing. So what's even the point? That is another problem. Another problem with this another way premature ejaculation can get caused is because of this excited nervous, this weird energy that you have. You're overstimulated. You're used to being overstimulated. There's literally people out there who have masturbated in 10 seconds or even under. As soon as they penetrate their wife, or whoever their wife, let's who are Muslim says, so I'm gonna say your wife. As soon as they penetrate their wife, they just ejaculate instantly. Under 10 seconds, they ejaculate because they're so overstimulated. They're used to being overstimulated, overly excited. So when they actually go to be intimate, then yeah, it's done and dusted. It's done too quickly. And then your wife is gonna be feeling weird about it. She's gonna think, wait, is that it? Wait, is that all you did? And that is gonna destroy your mental health. Alhamdulillah, I've never been in such a situation, but I've heard that this actually destroys this actually can somewhat cause trauma. Maybe trauma is too much of a big word, but it can actually destroy your mental health. This can actually cause mental health problems because you didn't actually perform that well. You didn't actually perform good. You wanted to have a good performance. You wanted to show your wife that you are here, that you can actually please her. But what happened in the end? You ejaculated way too quickly. Because you just had this, you had too much of this nervous energy. You had too much, you were overstimulated. You're used to being overstimulated. So what is actually the solution? Let me actually put this scenario into your head. Imagine you're about to be intimate with your future wife. Imagine all the hard work you spent on trying to get married, on vetting your wife, getting to know your wife, facing her father, and proving that you're actually worthy of actually being married to your daughter. Stuff. What am I saying? Imagine you had to prove to her father that you are worthy of marrying his daughter. Imagine that. And you actually succeeded. He actually approves of you. He actually says, that's right, my young one. You're actually worthy of marrying my daughter, so go ahead. Your parents are happy. Everybody's happy. Yeah, well done. Mashallah, you actually got married. I'm looking forward to those grandkids. Yeah, give us grandchildren soon. And you're like, yeah, okay. Kind of shyly, right? And then You do the nikah, you sign the contract and everything. You're married. You have this party with your friends. You have this gathering with your friends, and then you actually see her. Then you actually go home and you meet her. You go home with her. You're in the hotel, or maybe even your own house if you're actually at that point. And then that time finally comes. You take all you flirt with each other. You touch each other. You touch each other up for a bit. You do the necessary things that Muslims do. You pray 2 rakahs. You give her something sweet. You read Quran together. You flirt with each other. You actually start kissing each other, and then the time for the intimacy comes. Then that moment comes, and then something weird happens. Your private part is not rising. Your penis is not rising for this future woman. No matter what you try to do, whether it's licking her or whatever, those intimacy details, things you do in intimacy, no matter what it is, you're not getting aroused. Nothing is working. And then you're just confused. You're upset. What was going on? Why am I not getting hard? Next thing you know, your future wife is crying because she thinks she's too ugly for you. She actually thinks that she's too ugly to get turned on by you, even though she's just a real woman. But you're used to watching porn and having these side effects that I mentioned. And now she's upset. Now she's crying. Now you're upset. Now you feel insecure about yourself. And it's just a crap show. Now it's just a miserable experience. Now it's just terrible. Now things have just gone sideways. Imagine that scenario. You have to prevent yourself from that scenario by doing the necessary things. You have to prevent yourself from getting in that scenario. If you're still watching porn right now, this scenario could actually happen to you. I can actually help you prevent this kind of scenario. I have a full-on course that will help you quit porn and masturbation for good. To prevent such a scenario, to prevent such things happening to you, you have to first quit pornography. You have to first stop watching porn and masturbating to it for good. You need to get to the point where it doesn't even entice you to watch porn, where you don't even want to watch porn and masturbate to it. You have to get yourself to that point where it's not even a thought, it's not even there. The only thing that's in your mind is actual intimacy, not porn, not masturbation. Actual sex, actual intimacy is in your head. That is the point that you need to get to. I'd say this definitely takes from around 6 months to a year. A good way of knowing that you're actually cured of porn and masturbation is not only you've not been masturbating for 6 months to a year, but also a good way of knowing is usually when you're used to watching porn and masturbation, when you have sexual fantasies, it's actually of porn and masturbation itself. It's used to what you see on porn. The fantasies are of what you see on porn and sex scenes and what have you. When you're cured from porn, a good way to tell that you're cured from porn is when you think of intimacy, when you fantasize about sex, it is actually you being intimate with your woman or women. That is a good way to tell that you're cured. Get to that point first, then you can consider getting married. And you might be thinking, so what do I do in this time? How am I going to actually cure this addiction? How am I actually going to release my desires in the halal way? Because yeah, I get it. That is actually the point of marriage. It is to actually release your desires in the halal way. And not this haram, disgusting way that is porn and masturbation. That is the point of marriage. So what is the solution? What do you do in this meantime? Like I always say, your first priority is to actually get connected to Allah, is to ask for Allah's help. Ask the help of Allah to rid you of this addiction forever. And actually get connected to Allah as well. Also implement Islamic things that the Sharia teaches you that will actually help you get rid of this addiction for good. Lower your gaze. Prophet Muhammad always used to tell people to lower their gaze. Even Allah himself said, tell the believing man to lower their gaze. So lower your gaze. This is basically, don't look at porn and don't look at sexually explicit images. Even that first sight that you get, you have to look away. Don't look at it. Don't allow yourself to gaze at it for more than a second. As soon as you see it, you look away. Let me turn this alarm off. As soon as you see it, you look away. The next thing is to fast, like Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, advised. He says, tell the believing men to get married. And if they he's not tell the believing men, he says something like, if a young person is able to get married, then he should get married. And if not, then he should fast. because it diminishes sexual urges. Fasting actually does hold you back from releasing these sexual urges for in haram ways like zina and watching porn and masturbation. So you should actually be fasting. Fast on the main days like Monday and Thursday. Even fast consecutively if you have to. Fast multiple times in the week if you have to. But this is actually temporarily. You're not supposed to fast forever. The whole point of you fasting instead of releasing those sexual urges is to withhold yourself from these urges long enough so that you can actually get married. It's to withhold yourself from releasing those urges in a haram way so that you can eventually be able to release them in a halal way. That is actually the whole point of you needing to fast. That is the whole point of the advice of fasting. It can actually get to you can actually get to the point where even while you're fasting, you still feel horny. You still feel the need to ejaculate, to release those sexual urges. So it is actually temporarily. The fasting thing is temporarily. The point is not for you to fast forever. The point is, like I said, for you to fast long enough that you don't release those sexual urges, so that you can eventually get married and then release all your sexual urges there inside the marriage. So definitely do those things. The other method is to actually focus on becoming the man that can be able to get a wife and then release those sexual urges with her, because you know how marriage is. Marriage is not exactly the easiest thing to do. It's not exactly easy to get married. You have to get to know the woman for marriage. You have to make sure you're marrying the right kind of woman. You have to make sure that this woman is not a donkey. You have to make sure that this woman is not a retard. You have to make sure this woman is not a feminist. Is not the kind of woman who will actually cheat on you and take your kids away if things go sideways. You have to make sure that you're marrying a proper practicing Muslim woman. You have to make sure that she's actually a practicing Muslim woman, that she actually prays and fasts and so on. So marriage is not actually that easy. Marriage is not actually that simple. So in that time, actually focus on becoming the man who can make marriage as simple and as easy as possible. In those 6 years, while you're actually in those years that you have quit porn and masturbation, and then when you're trying to get to the point where you actually do get married, in between that time, focus on becoming the best man possible for marriage. Focus on learning about women, learning about female nature, and learning about female psychology. Focus on becoming more in shape, becoming a man who is actually in shape, that is actually attractive to women, that will actually be attractive to your future wife. Focus on becoming the provider, focus on becoming the protector, a man who will be wealthy enough to actually protect and provide for his future wife. But those urges that you have, that you would be releasing on porn, release those desires into becoming the man who is worthy of having a future wife, who will be good enough to marry. Because in this current situation right now, I'm not trying to be mean to you, be rude to you, but if you're watching this video, you seem like people who can take good criticism. In this current stage, you're not really worthy of being married because you're so addicted to porn. You've been watching porn for years on end now, so you're not really ready for marriage. And chances are you've not actually been developing yourself that much because you're so used to watching porn and masturbating. You're used to being in your room just watching and masturbating the porn multiple times a day. So you need to get rid of that. You need to kill that version of you. You need to take on this new identity. The new identity that is worthy of being married. The identity that is a man who has ascended, a man who has improved upon himself. So pull those sexual urges, pull those sexual urges into becoming that man. See yourself as that man and actually prove to yourself that you are that man. And that is what you do. That is how you cure this addiction. That is how you cure this problem. First, you don't just jump into marriage while you're still addicted to porn. First, you cure yourself of this addiction first. I like I said, 6 months to a year is a good starting point. Is a good way to tell. Is a good enough time frame to know that you're ready to get married. That's a good enough. That's long enough for the side effects of porn to. I'm burping too much. Excuse me. Excuse me. That is a good enough time frame, 6 months to a year. Get to that point, then you can get married. Then I would consider getting married. And I hope that was beneficial to you. Assalamu alaikum and take care.